All right, we're live now, guys.
We remember last year when we were kind of sitting here in the garden spot, everybody else was starting to take that.
All right, we're live now, guys. Nope, gotta shut the door.
Last year we were kind of sitting. Morning, Dean.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Dean.
Supposed to be Thursday and Friday. Last I heard. See, they haven't got that. Probably been letting it rain. It's dark outside this week. That could be, they've got a mat down, a little mat down, it's like almost ready to go.
That's what I forgot to do. Items 8 and 9.
Yeah.
You probably didn't get a copy of it.
Oh, the wastewater plant.
Yeah. Can we move those to next week?
Sure.
It's hard to do a resolution if we don't have it here.
Yeah.
See. Okay.
I don't remember.
We'll do it on the 27th.
We still have time for it.
Yeah, just before the end of the month, so.
Right.
I just shortened the agenda for us.
Yeah, you did. And I even called this week, usually I never call you.
Friday was a mess.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, we're kind of Dalton, how long will the recording stay on?
YouTube? Forever?
I think it's not working, so.
Literally
I
on
need to
there.
listen.
Yeah, it's on there forever. I mean, if I uploaded videos as a kid when I was like 15, they're still there.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
it's been 10 years. Well, 15 years.
You have videos on YouTube or when you were 10?
Oh, it's 15 years ago. So it's about 15 years.
So when he said Gene wants for breakfast.
We didn't even have internet when I was.
I dial up. I mean, it took like 3 days to upload a video.
14-4. All right, good morning, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order today. We're gonna do something we haven't done in quite a while. We're gonna do the pledge of allegiance this morning. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Meeting to order today. We have a couple of agenda changes. Number 8 and number 9, the transfer resolution for the Maple River and Mount Carmel wastewater funds. We're going to remove those and put them on for next week. The other, we're going to do, we want to do an addition, the Iowa Economic Development Block Grant. is here, and Courtney, we would like to sign it, authorize it, get it to Region 12 so we can get that program up and running. And we'll place that down before the manure management. Okay.
With those changes and the addition, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a second for the changes and approval of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, motion carries. The next thing is the minutes.
I read over the minutes, they wrote well. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the July 13th minutes.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second for approval July 13th minutes. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the first item up today is the swearing of a new sheriff deputy.
Good
Ken,
morning, Mr. New.
Eric,
I'm gonna introduce him as soon as we're done.
all right, very good.
So, there you go. I'm gonna have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I
Do solemnly swear that I
will support the Constitution of the United States
will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the
discharge all the duties of the
Deputy Sheriff for Carroll County, Iowa,
Deputy Sheriff of Carroll County, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now and hereby required by law.
Thank you. Good, congratulations.
Congratulations. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
Austin, that's here.
We get you a permanent sheriff.
Look at how we.
Whatever you want to call me again.
Board up on the screen there.
Strange times, but. Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you stepping in.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Start.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, very good.
Here,
Thanks, sir.
All right, the next thing up is the sheriff's quarterly report.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody has a copy of it in front of them? Long story short, we put in $12,857.65 through April, May, and June. After the weapons permit fees were paid out to the state, the grand total left of $9,715.88. And numbers were down, especially in April, when the start of the COVID thing hit. The courthouse was closed, so there just wasn't a whole lot of activity, but since then, things are picking back up. Any questions about that at all?
Anybody got a question for Ken on that?
No,
All
no
right,
questions here.
before you leave, that's all you've got for us.
That's it, and I believe we have a jail meeting Thursday.
Thursday, and then they were supposed to swing the cells in this week, do you know? if
They're
that's-
supposed, I sent Tony an email this morning to get confirmation they're still on track for Thursday and Friday, and I haven't heard back from him.
Okay.
Do you think there'll be a lot on that agenda, the jail meeting?
I don't know, I haven't got a agenda yet, so I don't know what they're planning on going over.
I think we could potentially do on site if they're bringing those cells in.
The weather's good, absolutely. See if he's got back to me yet here. He did get back to me. They are still on for Thursday and Friday to set the cells, so
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Yep, other than that, I have nothing.
Okay, we have nothing else. Zach, Secretary
We
Road.
need to approve the.
We need a motion for the approval of the sheriff's quarterly report.
I'll make a motion, we accept the quarterly report.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carried.
Have a good day, everybody.
You too, Ken. Zach.
Morning, Zach.
Morning.
Morning, Zach.
Morning. Short list today. I do have one utility permit for Raccoon Valley Electric. This is just a service line crossing underneath 110th, just west of M68, west of Rita. Pretty simple. Should be nothing in the way in that area. So. Section 5 of Wheatland Township.
I'll make a motion to approve the utility permit.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second for the approval of the utility permit. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries.
Quick department update. I would like to start the hiring process to replace Randy Hart. If we get started here in the next week or so, hopefully we can have something in September. That way, training under their belt before fall and winter starts to hit. I believe Randy will be around until that September timeframe around in there, and then he'll be off. So, but I just wanted to discuss that a little bit and make sure everyone's on the same page and start moving forward with that process.
Are you gonna advertise for them?
Absolutely.
And then obviously you're probably gonna have some in-house interest as well.
Yeah, there'll be some moving around in positions a little bit, and then we'll be hiring more than likely for a truck driver position.
Any more questions for Zach on that? Do you think, I'm okay with it. I think it's good timing to go ahead and get started because, they give 2 weeks notice and we advertise for a while. I mean, it'd probably take us 30 days to get to that hiring point. So that'll push us pretty close to Labor Day. That'll give them a little time to get the shuffle done because I think we're going to have some shuffling. And then also to get a little bit of training for the new employee on the piece of machinery that he probably will be running.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Same here.
Same here.
That's all I got, unless you have any questions for me.
How's the shouldering going on the Willie Blacktop?
Pretty well. Over half done, working our way back north there. That's the one good thing with dry weather is it's really good for shouldering. We'd all take the rain, but the material we're using is pretty dry and it's working pretty well. So making a lot of headway.
Very good. Okay, I'd like to get back on that project and go around this too and see if we can line up further that drainage district here. So,
Yep.
okay,
Sounds great.
very good, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll jump down to number 5 and we'll talk about the Raccoon River watershed vote discussion. Dean has informed a lot of us this week. Did everybody have a chance to visit with Dean on this project?
Yeah, I think we got everybody. I didn't really get a good chance to talk to Neil about it, but you know, we can cover a lot of ground here today in a short time.
Okay.
Did everybody get to see the article in the Des Moines Register yesterday? Or did anybody get to see the article in the Des Moines Register yesterday? It was on the front page. I had been
Yes,
contacted.
I did.
I had been contacted by the reporter about this, and there is a comment, the same comment that I sent to you about the comment that I sent in as a public comment was in the Des Moines Register. So that was my piece of it. I guess the action that I'm looking for today is to, and I'll try to make my point clear, is to rescind the resolution that we put into place. Well, I can't remember the date, but and the reason for that is there's several reasons. And actually, if you read, Gene, I don't know, did you get things more clear after you read that article?
Yeah, somewhat. And yet, when then I started reading that stuff you sent out, that the comments that Don had, and I got a little more confused again.
Well, it is a big issue, and I think the article was pretty clear and pretty accurate on some of the feelings that everybody involved has, and I guess that I think is somewhat part of the problem. And the article addressed it pretty well. The influence that the Des Moines Waterworks lawsuit has in this determination of going forward with the Raccoon River Water Management Coalition. And that was pretty obvious in the article. And the problem that I have is that I hate to have people make decisions on emotions. And I think that is somewhat what is going on here. And I think that, when I talked to Rich and Stephanie, the things that I'm concerned about is that if we do split away from the Watershed Management Coalition, then we are basically on our own. And if you want to plan, if you want to get funding in the future, you have to have a plan, and that has to be funded. And so that's probably going to come back directly to the taxpayer. And so that is for one reason why I'm not for that. And I guess another reason that came up in the article, and it was a comment that I missed at some point in time. I don't know when the comment was ever made, but it has to deal with, this is the sentence that precedes the comment that I'm going to point out. Lingering anger over the Des Moines Waterworks lawsuit is part of the reason for some of this situation. The next sentence is, as a member of the coalition put it, if I'm not at the table, I'm on someone's plate. And so I think that is something that kind of resonated with me. If we're not part of the conversation, we're probably going to be the conversation. And so I think it's important that we be at the table to defend, our interests. And so that is why I'm going to, would like to go forward to rescind the resolution so that we can still remain part of the Raccoon River Water coalition so that we can participate in any funding that would come up, that we can be at the table for any concerns that there are. And I guess the last part is that if we do not rescind this, we vote no on the plan on Friday. Now, I do not agree, as you all know, with the 48%. I don't know if that's going to change or not. I don't know. I guess we'll see how this week goes. I'm very doubtful that it will change, simply because it's a mandate that the EPA is enforcing. So I guess it would be my intention to rescind the resolution, go to the meeting and vote no unless there are changes made. That way we are involved, but we don't approve. And so, are there any questions? Otherwise, I would make a motion to rescind. I would have to find, let me see if I can find it here.
So Dean, do you think you got enough, that there'd be enough support there to change that percentage?
I don't know. I think that what's happened in the last while, I think there's a lot of people reconsidering it. There again, we don't know what kind of participation we're going to have at the meeting. Are we going to have a quorum? Can we even get a vote? And so those are things that do kind of concern me a little bit, I guess. No, that's not it. Are there any more questions while I'm looking for this?
Dean, I a little bit agree with you. I'd like to be in there to vote no. I think the 48% is probably not a reasonable amount when you look at the other watersheds and the percentages that they're at. I also know that this watershed's probably going to run out of money here fairly soon. So the only problem I have with how this is how it's going to be worded and how we move forward is that this turns into a mandate. If it turns into a mandate, then I think every county and every watershed, every district is going to have some type of funds to put into this. And that's going to jump back onto the taxpayer. And I don't want to see that at this time. I would like to see more voluntary work done. I think that the watershed over in the Cedar Rapids area has done pretty good with voluntarism about putting pieces of land in there that don't seem to cause too many problems. Yeah, I think we probably should rescind this. And then we do have the option also of rescinding it, getting in and voting and watching and trying to help make this something that's manageable. And if it would turn into something that's not manageable, we can always go down that resolution to withdraw. A fight, yeah, it probably would be a fight. But I want to get, I think Dean's right. I think we want to be sitting at the table before we get, could wind up losing this and coming up with more funding on our own.
Yeah, my big point, I think that 48% is kind of setting us up for failure.
As I read Don's comments, 48.1% and the response to it makes eligible for other certain grants. I think they gave lake restoration and some sponsored programs as examples. But by putting that goal so high, are we excluding ourselves and making us ineligible for so many other grants because we won't reach that 48.1%? So I'm trying to determine what's best for Carroll County, basically.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, Neil, is that, that is basically, actually 41% is very, 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 very difficult to achieve. So 48%, and that is going to be my question on Friday, is why would the EPA even arrive at that number? I mean, it's almost, everybody knows that you can't achieve that. And,
well, my point is that 48.1% is a goal and we can't achieve it. Are we setting ourselves up for failure, as Gene had said?
Well, the only thing is that you have to put structures in place to get to the 48%. So if the government's willing to put the money towards it, I mean, you can move towards that goal, but you'll never achieve it. There's more that I've learned about that, in that there was a letter back to Alan Bonini from Don Etler this last week. It's actually Saturday night, I believe. Courtney, do you have that resolution and resolution number?
Not in front of me, it's upstairs. I can go get it though.
Yeah, if you would, please. I can't seem to locate it here.
Of course, maybe there's another way to look at this. If that goal is that high and they keep throwing money at it, that means money keeps coming to achieve that.
Well, and that is one way to look at it. I know that in the article, Jonathan Gannell from the Des Moines Waterworks Plan said that, this is a 10-year project, 10-year plan, and to even consider that you could even get close to the 48% is not realistic. So I guess I'm not really too sure what to think about that. So there was a response from Don Edler to Alan Bonini, and it says in here, as Adam Schneider's advised, I asked the amount of the EPA funds that would come to the North Raccoon Water Management Coalition if qualifying 9-point plan is adopted. The figure is important as a measure to determine if it makes sense to take an extra $1 billion needed to achieve the 48% versus the 41% nitrogen level reduction. There's no one better positioned to estimate the revenue than you. Please do not confuse this leverage for local funds. So, it's going to take a tremendous amount of money, and we all know that the money is just not going to be there. In answer to your question earlier, Gene, about the, is it going to pass? I think there's been a tremendous focus on that 48% since the last meeting, when the 48% did pass. So, there probably could be some reasonable, it probably could be a very reasonable vote this time. However, if they don't change it before the vote, they take the vote, the plan fails, where do you go then? You know, I mean, we just spent how many hundreds of thousands of dollars on this plan and it failed to pass. Does that mean we go back to the drawing board, spend the remaining dollars that we have as a balance and change the plan so that it will pass? You have to go to the EPA, you know, and request that they lower it from 48% to 41%. So it's a really sticky situation. And you know, like you said, Gene, about the article, there's really no winners in this deal. I mean, everybody's put on the spot, and we've got a lot of emotion going on.
You can see everybody's reasoning behind their thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, a while ago, when you referred to a lot of emotion, there's going to be a lot of emotion tied to this for years. That was a very ugly thing. It really didn't come to much resolution one way or the other, other than one particular group may have considered being lost that lawsuit. But like I said, it's going to be there a long time yet to start something.
Two of the counties that were named in the lawsuit, I don't think except for one time I saw a representative there from one of those counties, but otherwise I don't think they ever did show up to any of the meetings. And you know, I think they signed the resolution, and that's probably the only time that they showed any activity in the watershed management. So, and that's, you know, that was one of the thoughts that was in the article too, is that, you know, nothing will happen if nobody participates. And so, you know, if you can't get these people to the table, it's difficult to get anything done. And I think that's been one of the big failures, I think, with this watershed management project that's been going on. The dollars were there. We went through the motions, but I don't think anything really constructive came out of it. I think the plan is okay. It's just a 48% that is some problems. And if you look at, you know, and I can see why Pocahontas, you know, aside from the fact that it probably hits them probably more than anybody because of the potholes up there. You know, the plan wanted to take those potholes, of which there's about 350 of them, and turn them back to original potholes. Instead of right now, they've tiled them out and they're farming through them. Some of them are huge, acres and acres. So, you know, there's just a lot of pushback.
Dean, did you want that resolution number?
Yeah, if you have it.
Yep, we have it. It's resolution number 2020-007.
Any more comments? Otherwise, I'll make a motion to rescind resolution 2020-007.
Just restrain.
Okay, we have a motion. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to rescind resolution number 2020-007. That will be a roll call vote.
Miners,
Yes.
Shetler,
Yes.
Bach,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, we have a motion carrier, all voted aye.
So I'll, Courtney, can you send an email to, was it Buena Vista County that sent that originally, or was it Pocahontas?
Pocahontas sent the original.
That's what I thought. If you would send them an email, letting them know that we rescinded the resolution, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on, with what's been going on with myself lately, I had not planned on going to the meeting on Friday. But I plan to attend now. If it looks like a safe environment to go into, I guess.
Are they doing those by Zoom?
Pardon me?
Are they doing any Zoom or?
Yeah, they're doing Zoom as well.
Okay.
I could participate in Zoom. And if anybody wants to attend that meeting as well, I can certainly get the Zoom information to you, and you can participate if you'd like.
What time is that at, Dean?
Pardon me?
What time is that meeting at on
That's
Friday?
at 10 o'clock on Friday.
If you send it to me, I mean, if, I know it's a coalition, but if you send me the link, I'd be interested in listening.
Why don't you send it out to everybody, Dean, if you would?
I'll send the link out to everyone.
Thank you.
So it is my plan. I'm going to follow this pretty close. I'll be talking to a lot of people, I'm sure, this week about this, and we'll see where we're at. I'll let everyone know if there's any change, if there's any movement, anything going on. I'll go ahead and be in contact with you all. So just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Okay, we'll back up a subject, and Shannon Powers here. We'll turn the floor over to her so she can give us a Carroll Area Development Corporation update.
It is a lot. Good morning.
Morning,
Hello,
Shannon.
gentlemen.
Thanks.
Morning.
Absolutely.
Morning.
Wanted to give an update with regard to what CDC do for the last couple of months. So I have some notes prepared here. I'll start with our survey process with our businesses. We have got approximately 40 of our prime employers that we visit every other year. And we're using a survey tool that matches the region is consistent. But this year, the Best of Iowa team, which consists of our major utilities, economic development authority, have worked together to do a modified survey and to put together a list of additional businesses that they'd like to get with. So, right, we estimate that number to be about 100 that we maybe have completed by the end of this summer or end of September. So that will really be a bulk of our time here in the next couple months. We really trying to be inclusion, but not in a formal survey process here lately. So that's one of the things that will certainly be a focus. And then you will see both the statewide report and the county report come out in the months following that to just kind of really have a good gauge of where we're at. There also are a lot of business assistance pieces that are coming out that are still pretty weekly. We're having new updates come out. One of the projects that is pretty neat through IEDA and through SBDC is the Shop Where I Live campaign. They're really helping to bring retailers online to sell their products. So business, once they get signed up, can sell up to 25, and that'll be free for a year through Iowa Authority. So we're really working to get the word out, get businesses signed up that way. Raccoon Valley Electric Cooperative, you may have seen, they freed up $150,000 of their loan fund to be able to be distributed in Sac and Carroll counties. So CADC has a $50,000 allocation. So does Sac, Tourism and Development. Right now, we have helped get the word out countywide, but Coon Rapids has received a $20,000 allocation from CADC to put out business loans. Those are 0% interest loans for 5 years with 6-month deferral. So the range is $5,000 to $10,000. In Coon Rapids, I believe they just stuck with a flat $5,000. So essentially, this really is to emphasize opportunities for those businesses that didn't maybe receive grant money, that weren't eligible for other programs. So the point though, with this pot of funds is it has to be guaranteed by an entity. So in Coon Rapids, for example, the city put up the $20,000 to back these loans. It can be a city, it can be the county, development, what have you. But so far, Coon Rapids, like I said, is 20,000 of our 50, and we haven't had any others come forward yet. Mid-American Energy is doing some additional rebates for efficiency projects, but we did get notification from Iowa Economic Development on Friday that they rolled out their small business utility disruption prevention program, essentially helping with back paying utility bills for those businesses that maybe have been challenged. There are certainly requirements with regard to usage, with regard to business size, et cetera. I believe one of the pieces is that they cannot receive some of the grant funding that was rolled out from the state. So we're still kind of getting through that one, but that is eligible. I believe there's about $2 million in that fund statewide. So we're certainly, again, trying to get the word out if there are any businesses that need assistance with those utilities. I think I mentioned last time that Kimberly Tiefenthaler is in our office coaching. And so it's been a great partnership, you know, with having the ability to get the market research done, a lot of the funding and programming done at the same time. We've really had a good number of businesses that we've been able to help out with. Also, I wanted to just mention that we do, the IEDA put out the grants initially and quickly several months back, but the task force has been assembled that will start to oversee how we spend the remainder of those funds that have been allocated for the state of Iowa. So it looks like everything will come through IEDA, and as we see pieces like this utility fund, we'll just work quickly to try to get the word out. I know you guys have already heard, but we're really excited with what Region 12 is going to have to offer too, with 0% money for 2 years, and then it transitions to 2% for 8. But you know, ultimately, while we know COVID's been devastating for our businesses, there are a lot of tools. So if it might be an equipment purchase or a growth to a new site or what have you, there are a lot of tools that can really be helping out right now. The other things I wanted to bring right now is we did get our retail trade analysis reports from ISU. I did bring copies here, and I'll leave, for those of you by Zoom, I'll leave the extras for me to be picked up if you'd like, but they're all available on the CADC website under that retail tab. Essentially, on the Carroll County report, the total taxable sales were just slightly down. So according to the report, they're considered flat. We did have a 3% increase in the number of reporting firms annually, which is good news. The average sales per firm were down about 3%. With you guys not having that in front of you, I do want to point out that this report reflects from July 1 of 18 to June 30 of 19. So keep in mind that this is not related to COVID. This is going to be prior. There's a little bit of lag time in getting those back, but a lot of good data in here. Another thing that I really like to keep track of, you know, you can really compare trends throughout the years. You can take a look at how our communities are performing, how our incomes per household have changed. But we also have peer groups within this document. So page 9, if you're looking, you know, it compares Carroll to peer county, or Carroll County to peer counties, to just see how we perform. The state of Iowa for sales, or per capita sales, are right about $12,700. The peer group average is about $11,800, and Carroll, ranking 4th in that peer group, is about $15,800. So again, above the peer group and the state averages. Another thing, page 11, for those looking again, is the pull factor. I really think that's an important figure to follow. And our peer group median is just slightly below a 1, meaning that typically there's a little bit of retail leakage in counties our size. But looking at that bottom figure, you'll see that Carroll County is usually about a 1.2, with a little variation. So that means that Carroll County certainly is pulling in retail for the region. Lots of other good information. It gets into breaking down sales by business categories and types, some further comparisons and research. And last year at one of the Carroll County roundtables, we had Lisa out to explain those. So I believe some of you were in that meeting as well. But again, I just like to always bring this data forward. It's really a good snapshot of our retail here in Carroll County and the communities. We do have the reports for several individual communities within the county. They don't do them for everyone, but those are all, again, up on the CDC website for you. The other piece that I wanted to bring is our labor shed is complete. We typically had those every other year from Iowa Workforce Development, and there was a transition and change to how they were completing those. We were due to have that in 2018, but we did finally get that here at the end of June. So again, I have copies that I'll leave with Courtney, but this again is all available on the CABC website. One of the changes that we'll see, one thing that's different is that we don't have the full 30-page report that we're used to seeing. There is a 4-page executive summary, which will be here for you. But they put an electronic dashboard up there. So I think it's got 13 or 15 sections, but when you click on a section, the graphic changes, but on the left side, you can scroll through a series of slides. So there's a lot of content. It's just not in a good printable format. But the print piece, the executive summary, it really goes through, again, the estimated population of our labor shed area, some of the commuting patterns, what categories or sectors they're working in, those that might be likely to change employment, and what wages would be needed to pull them into different employment scenarios. Finally, the other thing that was changed is that there are labor characteristics reports, and I didn't print all of those, but I'll leave this set for you. What they gave us is 4 categories that are prominent in Carroll County. So it's warehouse and distribution, advanced manufacturing, biotechnology, and financial services. And so they just give a quick 3-page snapshot of those specific sectors as well. So there's just one set there to share, but again, all of those are available on our website or that IWD website. So a lot of good data. You know, I think especially times like right now when things seem to be a little bit disrupted, it's really good to let that data tell the story of where we're at. So we're really happy to have some of that available. Otherwise, we do have a contractor that reached out to us that is looking to do some rental units. And so we did a Zoom meeting with him to introduce him to our community leaders within the county. And I know he's reaching out. We did have a couple communities ask if he'd come out and take a look. And he has done units in Jefferson, taken a look at Scranton. So a good fit for the region if he's going to be in this area anyway to try to get some rental units done. Finally, I guess we're doing a lot with regard to site and building inventory, making sure those documents are all updated. We've had some calls, which is good. So, you know, as you've seen, we've had a couple ribbon cuttings and projects that are still moving forward, regardless of some of the challenges that are out there. I guess my final piece then would just be some of the upgrades that we're making. With Western Iowa Advantage, I mentioned the survey tool that we use, and it's really geared toward those prime industries, so manufacturing, et cetera. But there is a component for retail, service, trade, and convention. So it really gets down to those smaller businesses, more of the independent size, small businesses. So we are making that investment so we can be out and be surveying and tracking a little bit more data in each community. It'll be available to our community partners. And we are looking at some other pieces. Traditionally, if we have a business that comes in and wants to start a coffee shop, for example, we work with Kimberly to get market research. We might work with another partner to pull in competitors and different things like that. So we're looking at a tool that would just be embedded in the website for individuals to be able to really take a look at competition, suppliers, typical wages you're going to see, all that kind of thing, just with the tool built right into the website. So Excited to have that being looked at, no commitments yet, but lots of cool things that are coming out of COVID and learning that things have to happen electronically. We're trying to put a lot more data into the hands of individuals and do that in a much more timely manner. So, a lot covered, but definitely ask questions if you have any.
You were talking about some of the housing in this contractor that's done stuff. Was that in Jefferson? Is that over by the prison hall?
I cannot see for sure, I haven't been there, but he did 12 rental units.
It looks
And
about
so
right.
I
It looks about right. It's all up. They are very nice.
They are nice, they're market rate units. What he's done, the typical model is a fourplex. So you've got two two-story units in the middle with 2 ranch units on the outlet. 2 bed, 2 bath, and 2-story, I think 1 bath and 1. 2-car detached garage comes with them. And so essentially, like I said, they're market rate, but it really, the rent rates come down to the assistance on the front. He has had maybe some land abatement, there have been some tax abatement, that rural allocation of the workforce housing tax credits. You know, everything that's helping on the front end buy down construction costs is helping with those rental rates for the long term. So he does intend to own and manage them long term. He's not looking to just sell them off to a management company. Really a good fit for our communities. And like I said, not only is he very willing to come take a look in the communities, but also to open up a unit in Jefferson for us to take a look at if we're curious. So
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go through the prison homes last week. Very, very frustrating.
isn't it great to see that come to reality, especially so quickly?
Yep.
You know, it seems like in just a few years' time that was able to be implemented and delivered. So,
Have you had a chance to go?
I have not.
Get a chance to go take a look for a special lesson. So.
Very good.
Okay, any questions for Shannon this morning?
I guess the only question that I have, Shannon, and you touched on the retail, and that, you know, is there any way that, or what is there a way that we can track the most recent retail sales without, probably the only one that I can think of would be the local option sales tax fund probably gives us a best reflection at this point of how retail is going in the county. Is there anything else?
There are some pieces that we can follow. They're a little more raw than the data that we're seeing in this report, but you know, we kind of wait to hear at the state level. Our indicator in May was that retail sales were down about 2%, so a lot less than they had initially thought. But typically, I tend to wait on some of that. Maybe you can look at the numbers that are collected, but there's a whole lot of refining that goes into these reports. So ultimately, I guess what I'm saying is, yes, there is data out there. I'd like to see trend pieces kind of like this one out a little bit. So I would expect, I think August is when our lobbyist said that the next round of projections would be coming that we'd take a look at. So I do look forward to hearing that and kind of seeing where we're at, looking at Q1 and 2.
That's very important too, because I have had a discussion about the road use tax money. When first, you know, you throw out 2%, let's say, that's a big deal if it's a yearly thing, but if it's 2 months, it's not quite as impactful. So that I think you're right, following the trend, you can kind of see where it's up or down or which way we're headed.
Exactly.
Okay, anything else?
There's a whole lot, and again, when you guys are able to take a look at the reports online or the print copies, certainly feel free to reach out with questions. There's a whole lot of content there. I love data. I love letting it tell our story versus assuming things. So I think you'll find a lot of things that are interesting in there. You know, like I had mentioned with the retail, the sales per firm were down about 3%, which it was kind of a trend across the county. But we did see, as mentioned, several of the communities saw an increase in the number of firms, which is a good thing too. Lots of good stuff out there, and I appreciate you taking time with me.
So how is the business atmosphere? How do you feel today since things have opened up, and has it been better? Has it been okay?
I think there's quite a mix, to be honest with you. Some of ours in retail have reported that they're nearly caught up with some of their losses. Others have said, no way, they're ways off yet. But July has been pretty strong with those we've heard from. A lot of caution yet with regard to how many they want to have in and what direction they're going. I see that especially going in the end of Q3 and into 4, when you're really looking at some of the holiday shopping for retailers, their supply issues. So, hearing about LA potentially having another shutdown coming, well, that's a fashion district. So for those boutiques that are getting clothing from there, it could cause an issue. And the supply issues obviously are through our industry and accounting, but so far holding their own. I will say there's a lot of concern with potential for another shutdown. The governor, but if we would go there, I think that's when we would certainly see more challenges.
Can you comment on the JCPenney situation?
I'll tell you what I know. Right now, the owners are working with broker. There have been contacts made both to the company to see if we could appeal and try to maintain that presence. That's not looking very promising, but again, it's a data story. So along with the broker, you can see some gap analysis. What market, maybe are good markets for here. Certainly, best case scenario, we'd love to see a retail anchor in that space if we can. So a lot of work is being done on the front end to get that data together, work on the story of Carroll and Carroll County. And like I said, when the retail is showing how strong we are within the region and how we're dependent upon for service and goods, I think there certainly is a story to tell. So a lot of outreach is just a whole lot of phone calls is what really happens in trying to tell our story, because we're working obviously against COVID and what that's done to retail, but we're really working against that rural Iowa mentality a little bit. When you're talking to national companies and they see some of the population numbers, sometimes they have to educate a little bit on us really being a micropolitan center for the region. So, the commuting patterns and things in that labor shed really help us out with explaining how many people are coming within the community. So we're really trying. I guess I don't have any answers, but I will say we've done a ton of research, trying to do a ton of outreach to partners that we can find, and that's the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, thanks, Shannon, for taking the time to come in.
Yes, you're welcome. Have a good day.
You shall do that. Right, the next thing up is Veterans Affairs expenditure discussion.
Pete and Neil, you've done a little legwork there with Veterans Affairs. They've covered some of our concerns. I still have some concerns. What's going on and how it was handled. Can you guys enlighten us any more with information that you've received?
Well, Gene sent a letter to John Worden, and he had a rather brief response. Looking for it here. But basically, I think, Gene, you chip in any time, but we do have regrets about approving that payment for those cards, because there's no accountability. And John, in his brief comment, said that they should have accountability, that they are subject to an audit, and that they should, but they're not required to have accountability for that to the board of supervisors or their board.
probably didn't explain that very clear. Gene, do you want to help me out a little bit?
Well, and one of the questions that Neil asked that they had about putting a statement on their thing, if we could do that. And, you know, a statement that says a person may sign a release to authorize the examination of that person's application, reports, or records. And his comment was, you can ask the commission to do so, but the tone of the letter indicates that's probably highly unlikely. He is concerned that, he don't see that, most of our appropriations or claims with the veterans is done on an individual claim. And he's concerned about the application on this here extra money, and in effect is giving a fund of money equivalent to be passed out without accountability. That's his comment was. And that's, he says, my 2 cents. I agree with Neil that I think both Neil and I have buyer's remorse that we approved this. This is one of them things that come down in the last minute again. And, it may be for a good cause, but I think, it needs to be, my point is, I guess, anytime you have extra money like this and it gets run through funny real quickly is when you have issues show up. And with what we've seen in the past in different areas that we've done over the years, I think this is an issue. Maybe we won't have an issue, and I hope we don't. And I don't, I'm not thinking we will, but about time you say you don't, you have one. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to protect the taxpayers' interest here. And it seems like, I think the commission has kind of made the comment that, the auditor can look at it and there'd be a master list. And I try to explain to him how some places make a list, but the name is kept somewhere else. And there's to give them an ID. And in my case, it'd be like my birthday plus your last 4 digits of your social security number. That did not fly very far with them. And at least I didn't get any response on it. I guess my point is, to this point, I think what we do is we tell them how we're feeling. And Neil and I thought we should bring this between all the rest of the board, not just ours, just the 2 of us. And I think we try to push that they put that statement on the end of that application, and it's going to be subject to an audit. I think, I think we need to look at it. But and it's not that I want to know who gets them, but I just want to make sure that these aren't winding up getting one person's getting 2 of them or things like that, or 2 out of the same families getting them. Those are things that I'm trying to avoid.
To summarize, I don't think Gene and I have any problem with the cause. We have a big problem with the accountability. These gift cards could go anybody, anywhere. I think now that we have our eyes on it, that there will be a good use of them. But Gene and I want a board comment. Let's say we have an audit and find out that they have gone somewhere they shouldn't have. Well, then it's too late. And I think by asking them to put a comment on their application form, basically saying that their name could be given, is probably a good idea. We're concerned more about the accountability than the cause.
And I agree with that.
Any comments from the board, other board members?
I want to back this up just a little bit to clarify. So this money that was handed out to veterans in the form of gift cards to help offset some of the COVID problems that arise, right? That went to Hy-Vee. These gift cards were purchased through Hy-Vee to go out to vets, correct? Sure. But was that money, extra money left over in a budget? Gene, is that what I just heard? Basically, you say this money was left over in his budget or in that particular budget and was then allocated for gift cards.
That's right. This money was the state money, that 10,000 that we get every year. And due to the fact that they with COVID, that they didn't have some of this training and stuff, just wound up with some money left over. And if you don't have that money spent, it goes back to the state. So they decided to go out and buy these gift cards. And what their comment is that it's to help anybody that has been underemployed or unemployed during due to COVID-19, to help them out.
And our issue is we just don't know for sure who all those gift cards went to.
Correct.
That's yes, correct.
There's
Not
any-
necessarily, not necessarily who got the gift cards, but just make sure that the accountability is done right on it, that there ain't duplication or double dipping or whatever.
Yeah, I see a
Well-
problem in that. I agree with both Gene and Neil about, you know, I'm okay with the overall situation as long as there's accountability to follow it. You know?
I agree with the accountability. I just wanted to back up a little bit, just in case somebody's watching this video and they understand kind of what this discussion is referring to.
You know, I think we're gonna run into this as this ain't gonna be the last time this is gonna come up, because it seems like it rears its head every year. Well, not every year, but at the end of budget time, that there's dollars left over in someone's budget. And so it gets spent. And, you know, Neil, you addressed it several years ago with the holding back 15% at the end of the year. And that did not go
The
well.
only thing,
That did not go well with the department heads.
yeah, the only thing
Wow.
different about this, Dean, is that this money is state funds and it goes back to state. Whereas if it's just regular money out of our budget, it goes back into the general surplus, into reserves. So we don't actually lose the money, just that the money goes back into reserves. That's the big difference.
But make no mistake about it. If there's any impropriety going on, the county will pay the fine and the county will pay the cost. So, and that's the thing that I think we need to get to the Veterans Board is, I'm not questioning the program. I'm questioning the accountability. Is there application? Are the rules being followed? Will they be spent this quarter? Will they be spent in a year? Have they already been spent? Those are all questions, and I think those are legitimate questions, and I think we are owed those answers. And the tone of the letter that I received from the email is left me with a really bad impression of the Veterans Affairs program. I'm gonna put it that way, and I'm not afraid to step out on that one. And I have lots of veterans in my family, and I think these programs are good. But this letter and the tone of it was unacceptable.
Rich, and I'll agree with you. I think that the tone of this thing, I'm like you. I support the veterans. I appreciate what they've done for us in that fact, and that they deserve what they get. Also, I will state that the governor issued this a memo on this, that they could do this with this extra money, and that's what they did. And that's where they came up with the language about unemployed or underemployed came from the governor's office. So this was kind of had the governor's blessing on it, but the problem is the follow through on the accountability of it, because you got, like you said, Rich, if it comes down to if there becomes an issue, the buck is going to stop here at this table, not anybody else's.
That's right.
I mean, then we have to go fight with it after that. I just want to see things done right.
Me too. I think that's all we're asking. And like I said, I don't even know if there's even an application you fill out for this thing. Have you guys ever filled that out?
They did show us an application, and but you know, It was pretty, not very extensive. So I guess, Neil, our thoughts are that we go ahead and tell them that we still would like to have this statement added on their application.
I agree with that. I think that we would ask them, tell them that we have a legal opinion that is different than a regular claim, and that they should state on the application form who, when, and why the gift card was given. And it's subject to audit, and that information, irregardless what they decide to do, shall be made available to an auditor. Does anyone on the board have any problem with that line of thinking that Gene and I have?
No, I think you're spot on.
I agree. Is there more questions that you have? Should John be looking at this a little harder? Have you visited with him about it?
Well, we sent him that letter with it, and I think at this point there's not really much more we can do. We can try to get our point across. We're kind of here, on the end of the ninth inning,
Yeah,
so it's kind of hard to change things too much. Courtney, could you send that letter to Louis on that?
What?
Could you type up a letter and send that on behalf of the board to Louis?
And I'm not exactly sure what you wanted to say.
Well, just
Can
I'm
you
away.
get that statement that you made and that you and Neil agree with, and get that off to Courtney so she can construct a letter around that? Or you guys can send it directly to them if you'd like. However you want to handle it.
How do you want to handle it, Neil?
Well, I think either you or I probably could word the letter better than Courtney. She's kind of just listening in on our comments, and we were in on the whole thing. I think the reason Gene asked you to do it, Courtney, was because we wanted it to come from the whole board, not just from Gene and I.
And I will. I need to just get some direction.
Maybe Gene or I should send you an idea of what we want in the letter, and you could write it.
Okay.
Neil, being you're there, could you do that for her?
I'd be glad to do that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I will send that to you today, Courtney.
Okay.
10.
Okay, more discussion there. We'll see how this proceeds from here. The next thing up is the FY20 County Substance Abuse Report.
With new opportunities, this is the breakdown of the fiscal 20. Looking for a motion to approve it and authorize Joanne Martin to sign it.
Okay, you guys had a chance to read this over. It all looked pretty clear to me.
Didn't we just do this?
We approved the grant for the new coming year. This is the report for last year.
Yeah,
No.
just a report that they had certain goals, and the report shows that they have met them. So I don't think it needs to be voted on. It just needs to be brought to us for a review.
The only thing we probably should do is make sure we get a vote, we accept it, we've read it.
That'd be fine.
I'll make that motion that we accept the fiscal year county substance abuse report. That's presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Sarah's not up here yet, so let's jump to the manure management updates.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, East, section 15 of Washington Township with no change. N and M Farms 2, section 28 of Arcadia Township is no change. Laverne Grieving, section 34 of Pleasant Valley, that will be crop rotation and manure balance. MMP reports. The Brady Bowl, section 15 of Sheridan, that was a no change. Steve Pudens of section 26 of Nice. That is outdoor buildings that will become indoor buildings. And it's just an update in the plan. And it does not look like they'll have to be matrix on it. It appears so far anyway. All right.
Give a speedy contract.
Yeah. And you may not have gotten this yet, but we, Courtney and I had an email on it that we received, Carroll County received a community development block grant, which we applied for housing. The amount that was awarded to us was $211,500. This program will be administered by Region 12. The money does come through the county and then goes back to them so they can apply it where needed. So this is basically a pass-through, and this agreement requires a board signature. And that's what this is about today. Pretty straightforward contract, or not contract, yeah, contract, I should say. Same Region 12 uses with everybody, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract and authorize the chair to sign it.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed. Motion carries.
I don't have a waiting room or anything, guys, so, but she should just be able to pop in. Sarah
Anderson.
Anderson, I didn't invite her. I can invite her.
I thought she was coming up.
Yeah, that's what I assumed too.
Oh, she.
I saw her vehicle here, so I didn't.
Not stoplight, she'll be here in a minute.
Okay.
Sarah's at the stoplight. You guys want to take a short recess or work on committee reports? Okay. Take it back to recess.
We can do committee reports.
Go ahead. You're first.
Boy, I opened myself up for that, didn't I? All right, last week, I had discussions with Neil in regard to Veterans Affairs on Tuesday, CADC had a program at noon in regard where Jim Gossett and Region 12 and also Kimberly Tiefenthaler give updates on their different programs, and I think Shannon kind of covered that a little bit. Also on Tuesday, then I went out and had to go to Carroll and sign loan documents for new opportunities for the project in Perry. And then on Friday, had the Yes Center board meeting, which was kind of a short one. Things seem to be going pretty good up there. For the month of June, we averaged about 11 to 12 kids per day. As of last Friday, though, they were down to 6. They did have to hire some new staff. And other than that, things were going pretty good. This week, I have CADC has got a meeting at noon tomorrow, and then also on Thursday is the meeting with the Shive Havery and Beatty in regard to the jail. That's my week.
Great timing. Okay, well, we'll go back to COVID-19. As primary, the courthouse open, and some of the questions and we have. All right, go ahead, Sarah, while you're out of breath. Think of any good.
So I emailed it out to you guys. I just typed up a few things that they wanted to discuss today. So with the courthouse bathroom, it was requested that the courthouse bathrooms be public. Just wondering if anybody had any heartache about that. I talked to Rich, like he said, if there would be an emergency with a little kid, but
Yeah, remember some people drive 30 miles. There's going to be have to be acceptance. I'd like to do that. I'm not sure.
it was just brought up.
Yeah.
For discussion.
Is there a way the employees can use the bathrooms on this floor if that would be more acceptable? I don't know if we can close down I'm not for closing the bathrooms. I mean, like you said, there's kids, there's people driving to come in and
Also, so do we close them on this floor to the public, and then Zach just tries to hit that bathroom twice? Yeah.
this building's to serve the public. So I don't know, I have a really hard time shutting things down. I would be fine closing these to the public and leaving the ones upstairs.
Okay.
No.
But at least we will have the option.
Yeah, public is very.
And in the lower level too, probably.
I just had it now.
You guys have any opinions?
I'm okay with closing the bathrooms. You can't go to mass, any of the Catholic churches without, you cannot use the bathroom there. They're locked. They may be public bathrooms, but they've chose to close them. And I have no problem. I still, we want to get these people in and out as quickly as possible. They should use the bathroom before they come. I guess that's the way I feel about it. I mean, if it's an emergency or something like that, that's different. But if I'm waiting in line and I want to use the bathroom, I'm going to use the bathroom. So.
What's the judicial people have that they have good restrooms?
Lisa said they've been sending them down to her bathroom,
They're similar to ours.
but they're telling them to go down a floor to go back.
Well, that's not acceptable.
They're wanting to keep theirs closed.
Of course they are, because they're having tons of people in there. That's not acceptable.
But that's what they're doing, that's why.
Also, maybe somebody needs to talk. It doesn't matter, there's still all the bathrooms that are gonna have to be cleaned more
Right.
than normal.
Well, and they probably should be getting more attention, even with just employees. So, we never know, we could have an employee that could be asymptomatic for a few days before we figure it out. You know,
Yeah,
those
he
are,
stated that nobody went over with him, that he should be back tomorrow. Yeah. Come on, do, he said.
yeah. Okay.
Or he could put a bottle of styrofoam there and the employees can help step up and every time they go in there, spray the yellow. That'll be done.
So are they open or closed?
I don't think they're closed, I said open.
Lisa, got anything you want to put into this?
Just, you know, like I said, the bad things that come up upstairs and downstairs, that's happened since even this happened. I mean, that's always been that way. Just let us know. I mean, we can use the bathroom down here so that he knows that he has to clean more, maybe the whole one. Like I said, we're only limiting 3 people in at a time, so they're not waiting in line.
Risk factors kind of small.
Right. Well, 6 of them were waiting on them, so they're not standing around waiting, drinking a pop, waiting like they were when we didn't have appointments for driver's license. So it's less likely that they're gonna be maybe using them.
Okay. I'm gonna chime in here a little bit. I think we should leave them open, just to the employees for right now. Let's try to, let's go a while. The girls know if there's somebody gets either gets trapped, if they ask, maybe, but other than that, they're pretty much closed to the public. Is that a good policy we'll just go with for a little while and see how it goes?
What you're saying, Rich, is just have them open just for employees and public only on emergency cases?
Exactly.
You put a sign up and just say out of order, like we did on the water tower.
Just put, yeah, probably either out of order or closed. For employees only. And if someone asks at the counter, then you've got like a little child or someone that's in a bad situation, they can ask and then get in. But then we know who's been in and.
Well, it's better than having an accident in the lobby.
No, that's true. That's true.
But with upstairs, those people are here longer. When they have a court case or something like that, so they're gonna have to
use their restroom facilities up there. A little bit harder.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too. Hey, Rich, getting back to a point that you kind of jarred my memory here. Did we ever look into one of those foggers?
Deb said that they were pretty spendy, and then availability was a huge issue.
You can get the Victory sprayers, they are very spendy. I don't know.
Well, I just thought, and I see when you watch the media anymore, you see a lot of them using them, and that's why I was wondering.
Well, so it's electrostatic spraying is what they're doing, so they're really hoping for the charge from the machine to go to the surface to kill the bug or whatever's on that surface. There's positives and negatives to it. One, when you're dealing with electricity, it has to go from a positive to a negative surface, so it doesn't work on all surfaces. The courthouse would be about fine, but there's some surfaces that doesn't work. But if you're not removing the debris, AKA like on a school bus, if there's a water gun or a shooter, spray is going to disinfect that soil, not the surface. So when that actually gets removed, that surface is then not disinfected. There is pros and cons to it. I do see it probably beneficial to buses as far as touch surfaces. I saw actually what Wesco paid last month to have 3 of their buildings fogged, and it was shy of a lot, about just shy of $4,000. At that price, you can own one. I think they're around 6, I don't know. Zach can get quotes, obviously he can get one from wherever, whoever supplies them, whether it be CID or Amazon or even Carroll.
They bought the building once and spent $4,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, I go back to, you need to spray and wipe. Because then you run into the issue too. You like, vouch for this. Good disinfectants out there like Oxyvir require a 30-second kill claim. And they're a little bit pricier. To, if you want to do like an HDQ is actually pretty good too. But if you go to a disinfectant that takes a 10-minute wet, the surface has to be wet for 10 minutes. And some of those foggers, they're not providing it to be wet enough. So the longer.
That was just a question.
Sorry. But obviously, so you've got Dean, Gene, and Rich want to close the bathrooms to employees only.
Yeah.
Obviously, I disagree, but that's okay.
Okay, so that's where we're going to be at. Got it. Hope it makes sense. Okay. All right, the next item up is the treasurer's office will only see 3 people at a time, 1 in each window. The DOT can have a 4th person, and they are testing it back in the old vault room or secure room back there. That's where that DOT station is at. And they're requesting of people, if they're busy, then when they step inside, to go ahead and just step back out for a little bit until someone goes out and then they can go in.
So the discussion was, are we okay with that? Are you wanting people to line up 6 feet behind somebody else, go over to Courtney's area, or to, I mean, you go back 6 feet, you're gonna already be at the recorder's. So, we're open to the public, but are we okay with saying treasurer's office is gonna see 3 to 4 people at a time, and for the rest of the people to wait outside? How to police this?
I don't know if you can necessarily police it, but I do notice, you have the signs up there, and I think people are generally using precaution, and even when you're out in public, you see people waiting. But if somebody's not, I think you could probably go over and say, okay, we're gonna have you go wait outside, whoever notices it. I don't know if we need to have somebody police it, but I'll give you.
The treasurer's office is by appointment only, so this should be a unique situation, shouldn't it?
Well, you're not totally appointment only. They are on driver's license.
Okay.
But they're subject to walk-ins for regular treasurers.
All right.
So there's where, and I think 3 people in here probably is okay, because it's hard to get 6 foot of distance without being in someone else's office area. And if someone wants to come in and see the auditor, I don't want to say just 3 people in the lobby period, because they should go to Courtney's office and get their business done and won't affect other than a walk by. So.
Okay.
I think, and I think all these rules will be subject to change by Thursday. As we go forward here, we're going to see different things. We're going to get a better plan on what the traffic is looking like. People are going to adjust to it.
With today being our first day open, I think you should have a really good feeling of how this is going to flow by the end of the week. And if we have to change it, we change it.
So do we have markings on the floor at 6 foot?
We have placed a social distancing dot at the window where we would like for you to stand. There's also a sneeze guard placed at that point. So we've got kind of a double, we'd like for you to stand there, and then there's sneeze guards in the middle, and then for a little more protection, and then we're only having 3 or 4 people tops probably in there at all. where we could go, the only time we will come the most traffic jam was probably, and most likely will happen, will be there'll be 3 people at the treasurer's office. And Ashton will get a realtor come in and want to turn in some paperwork. And of course, then we're going to be within 6 feet of each other, but that's mostly an in, out. And if we're not there more than a few minutes, I think the drinking is pretty small.
The auditor will have the new vote coming up, so fairly quick, in a month.
Yeah, we can't, I mean, we cannot hamper people's ability to vote.
Yeah,
If we start sending people
so
away.
it's gonna get busier,
Yeah.
whatever the date is that, for that special city election.
I mean, the elections are September, but people will be able to vote here next
So,
month.
so they could potentially have 2 or 3,
Oh, yeah.
and then people coming in and waiting that wanna go to either spot. So,
You know, so as I understand it, if we're allowing 3 people to come into the treasurer's office, correct? So how are we gonna monitor that? If you've got 3 more people come in the door and want to go to the treasurer's office, how are we monitoring that?
Well, if they don't read the signs, somebody's gonna have to say something.
Yeah, there's signs on the door. There's signs when you come in on a tripod. That if you stop and look at it says stop, and then it has the explanation written there. So if they don't, then the treasurer department, someone at that window sees it, they're gonna have to have somebody come out and address it.
Oh, so they are the treasurer's office is monitoring the flow. They're allowing people in the door.
Yeah, and they're gonna ask, first of all, they're gonna ask him, are you here to see the treasurer, or the recorder, or wherever? And if, of course, if they're headed to the recorder's office, they'll just have to send them around to walk around with people and go. But
Here, there are tripods. I don't know. I saw them this morning, but they had almost like those wet floor signs. There's 3 of them up there. So you see them right when you come in. Well, there's a sign on the door, and then there's another tripod right when you get in, and then there's another one. So there's signage up stating only 3 people.
Well, we really don't know how it's gonna act. We just opened it up today, didn't we?
exactly, I don't know what it's gonna do. And I know when Courtney starts voting, and the city also has they have a special in September.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be some issues that we're gonna have to cover when voting comes around. And it's going to have to allow more people in, but we're gonna kind of know how this is working when we get a little closer to it. We're just gonna have to adapt as we go. Things, and every day may be different.
so we borrowed Courtney's tripod things. Lisa and I, we like the size of them. They're tall. They're not low, so it's right where people can read. Or we want, because she's going to need those in a month. So are we okay with ordering more of those, and how many would you put up? We don't have any here. I just gotta put some signs on the door for now. You just leave, we put the one in the hallway to catch the people who come to the door and walk up. And then we had one between the 2, because several people were just trying to go in the empty spot and then just talk, but Jack put up the other piece of plexiglass to discourage the people from just talking through so that got put up on Friday. How many places do you want to put signs? And do you want the signs on the window, but then we're putting the tape on the window, and then it's sticky and a pain to take off?
Right.
Or should we just get more of those signs? Courtney's gonna need to use those, so we're just borrowing them for a month.
So with these doors open down here, I think we probably should put some type of tripod down here also. After they enter the building. And both of them will say, well, I'm not going there anyways.
can we laminate a sign and put one outdoors also? Right by the front door. So
We
when
can.
we open the door in the morning, we set it out. So they kind of read it there,
Yeah.
get the gist of it.
That's why I
And
put
then
on the
maybe
door for
2
now.
more inside, so it'll probably be 5 total.
There's a lot of, the only reason why I like that it's there, but there's a lot of information on the court door, so maybe you could put it, like, use that outside a few feet away, they
So-
notice it.
As soon as you step up to it. Okay. And like, with this, eventually, Courtney can always keep those in her arsenal for voting. That's why I like them multi.
So we'll get 5 of those ordered, I got the information from her, then we can just reserve those for any time we want to put any signage up.
Exactly.
They work like I thought.
Before we move on, do we need to do secondary roads? We need to do.
I can reach out to them and see how much.
If they feel there's a need for one of those, then we should.
I do, when you take stuff to the door, then you have to get it off and it is a pain to clean off.
Let's look at both of those. So just visit with them and see if they need one or want one. And there may be 2 entrances.
Then we'll add to. Okay.
Just add to it.
Well, and maybe conservation wants them too, people coming in, so. So then that led to, because we wanted a sign on the door that just said, please wear a face covering. So I just printed the simple CDC signs that, and one in Spanish and one, I was like, how much can you print? There was like 10 pages of stuff. So we put the stop, please do not enter. Then we put the please wear a face covering. Like Courtney discussed, the governor does not have us under, so there's no mandating it. It doesn't say it's mandated, it just says please wear a face covering. Some of the department heads question if we're having the people from the public wear a face covering, should they, as the employees, be wearing a face covering during that transaction time?
What about the plexiglass?
As part of the plexiglass.
So,
If the employee wants to wear them, I'm fine with that. I have no problem.
I think an employee should wear one if they're face to face and there's no plexiglass, there's nothing protecting them and you're standing there talking to them and but if there's a shield, why do you have to? Number one,
it was just brought up from
at least they could reach
a
your lips.
couple of the department heads saying, we're having the public wear it, are we supposed to be wearing it? Right now, it's, and anybody can do whatever they want, because we didn't say the employees
What
need
we
to do
were going
anything.
to do is if we were dealing with somebody behind the plexiglass, we would wear a mask. But if we were dealing with somebody in the back room on the flat book, yeah, you're gonna have a mask on. Or if we went to the treasurer's office to drop something off, we'd wear a mask because they have people over there and they're wearing masks, so.
And I guess they were questioning wearing the mask, even though the plexiglass was there, is because we're handling paperwork. Whereas, like I said, originally you could let people sit for a day or 2 before you touch it, or you're touching paperwork directly from the customer right away. So they thought the mask would be better to have on while they touch the paperwork, put the paperwork away, clean your hands, and then you take it off in between customers.
New ruling on it.
I don't know,
Exactly.
I haven't heard.
I think the last time I heard it can't be transmitted.
But now they're back to that it is on surface. It was, and then they said no, and now they're back to it's on the surface.
I just kind of told us up to the determination.
I don't think we can tell anybody they have to,
No.
but if they feel comfortable, absolutely, but if they don't want to, absolutely, I mean. And I strongly advise, whenever you're touching paperwork, wash hands if you can't get in there, use hand sanitizer.
I think that's the only thing they were questioning whether or not wearing it in there with the customers, because the paper's going back and forth.
If they feel comfortable with that, and I think the rules that set right by the window, they're obviously the ones going to feel
Right.
the biggest brunt of that.
Now, obviously, they said they couldn't go all day with wearing it, and that's why they're like.
But if they
put it
just
on, take it
want
off.
the face shield, I think we just put it out to the employees, whatever they makes them feel comfortable. And if they don't want the mask and they want the secondary face shield that kind of
It has to come
curves
up
around, yeah.
where droplets most likely.
There's face shields in the basement, there's masks in the basement. So if the public, if somebody comes in, it just says please, it doesn't say mandated, you cannot enter without. And wants a mask, are we going to hand out we're not gonna put them in a basket,
I think we should be able to
hand them out?
I would be.
So just,
Are they called? The
we
ones
didn't,
that-
we didn't get the together, or we have to rewash.
I think a lot of people have their own masks.
Yes.
So I don't think that's gonna happen a lot, but if somebody does come in.
And once,
Come up and say.
yes,
"Let mine off, got it."
so just each window, need more,
If you
but
feel that they would like one, I can
carry now,
don't
and
leave them out, so
we
they.
got them in sacks out of the basement.
Driver's license, we are requesting that you wear masks, we do not have a plastic shield. Because the one that we had back there went to the front closer, and so we have to order another one.
They're getting one more piece of plexiglass for the back.
We just asked.
That should be your,
But that's by appointment, so people know
Right.
when we talk to them.
very good.
One problem I see is, and I saw it on Friday, somebody had a mask on and a face shield. Both, they were upstairs, coming downstairs, fell, because they missed the last step, because probably you can't see
As
when
well.
you've got all this stuff on your face. So we need to be extra careful in making sure that we have things not in people's ways, like chairs, or like those signs need to be where people aren't gonna walk into them. And the stairs are concerning it, but obviously we can't prevent people from using the stairs, but
Tripping hazard.
it's already happened now once, so. And hopefully,
So I have a question for Sarah or Lisa. You know, prior to today, with the appointments, we've been asking them to wear masks, correct?
Yes,
And has there been a problem with that?
No,
The answer was no.
Oh, okay. So I think the general public is being cooperative that way. I don't. There may be some exceptions that we get to look forward to, but
Well, and
you know, I'm just going to comment too on you know, basically the grocery stores, Hy-Vee, Fairway, the employees are wearing masks. And right now we have Walmart that's requiring everyone to wear a mask, the shoppers as well. So this is kind of a reverse thing that we're doing here is, you know, we're not wearing masks, but we are asking the public to wear masks. So just a comment there as to, are we doing this in reverse?
Well, I use the post office for an example. They have a big plexiglass shield, and none of those employees are wearing masks, but I'm not afraid of them because of this plexiglass shield. However, I do wear a mask because when I enter the post office, I'm in contact with other members of the public. So I have a obligation, I think, to protect myself and others. I think in that case, wearing a mask as a person, as a public person is, as they ask us to do, is not asking too much. And as an employee, I don't think they need to wear masks because they're behind a plexiglass shield.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the only time I think that would change is if you would have someone that would probably come down in that department, then they would have to look at possibly wearing a mask. But I'm fine with it.
we'll just make it known to the employees if they want, for their comfort level as well. It's about the safety of the employee too. And if someone feels like they're working next to their coworkers all day long and wants to wear a mask, they can, but they don't have to, like Courtney said. their desks are separated quite a bit. They're at least 10 feet apart from each other, so to not have to wear a mask all day long at work when you're social distancing at work from your coworkers as well versus one-on-one with a patron coming in, so.
Okay.
Okay, so then number 5, there's still some confusion on this, and we met with our coalition group on Friday, and public health is adamant. So I feel like the county needs to be a lead agency in the county on following what public health is saying. So with everything opening back up, with kids going back to school, obviously there's gonna be germs and people are going to, oh, I just don't feel good. I mean, not putting Dean's life out there, but Dean just went through this exact thing, just didn't feel good, you know? So if an employee, I kind of broke it down into 5 things that other counties are doing. If an employee just doesn't feel well, they need to stay home. If they have any of the symptoms related to COVID-19, what other counties are saying, so you can't make someone go and get a test. All these other businesses are dealing with the same thing. So, okay, person has these symptoms that we list on the door, stop if you have this. So what they're saying is they should probably consult their healthcare official. The employee may not return back to work until they're fever-free and without symptoms for 24 hours. Some people are going 24 hours. Some businesses are saying 72 hours. I put the 24 hours, you can change it to 2 days, whatever. Everybody has the stop sign up that says stop. Do you have any of these symptoms? If you do, please go home and come back in, I mean, some of them even say 14 days. So it's like, what do you do when a person just doesn't feel good for a day, but it's not COVID? You know, everything is not COVID. There's allergies, there's summer colds, there's everything everybody has is not going to be COVID. So if we have them consult their doctor, or we need to set some sort of time frame as to when they can come back to work, the doctor wants them to have a COVID-19 test, they need to inform the department head that they've been tested. Because there's so many people getting tested, and then they go about their, oh, well, I got tested, but I'm not back yet. I'm gonna go to this restaurant and go here and go here. I'm sorry, if you get tested, those people say, go straight home and wait. We will be contacting you within 36 to 48 hours. Like, that person should not, I didn't feel good, I did go into work, but then 2 employees saw them here and here, you know? It's just setting a bad precedent. So if you've been tested, I feel like, or other counties are getting this from that they need to tell their department head that they've been tested. You'll need to work from home and self-isolate until the test results come back. If the test results come back negative, please obtain a doctor's note that allows you to return back to work. So, I mean, it seems like a lot of steps, but you either have to say they can come back after 24 hours, 48, 72, you gotta pick a time, or they gotta have that doctor's note that said, you know, it was just that my patient has allergies, they're fine, they can come back to work, because the list is saying they can't come back to work because they've got those symptoms. And as Sarah Schulte with Public Health stated, there's like 12 symptoms on there. It's basically, if you have any symptom, it could be COVID. Now, the testing does not show that way. It's showing that the positivity rate is still 90% of the people with those symptoms are still getting a negative test result back. So, gonna have to decide if somebody is sick, when that person can come back. If it's just being sick.
Well, wouldn't it be just, here's an idea, wouldn't it be the standard? Sick, you have sick days, you accumulate sick days. If you think you're sick with sinuses or you have a migraine, you stay home because you have a migraine and you have to take your sick day. But if you think it's COVID, you need to get tested stay home until you get results. If it's negative, come back to work.
That's why they consult with their healthcare professional.
I mean, if you think it's COVID, you need to go get tested for COVID. Because you can't have it.
And you need to tell
Your department head.
that you're getting tested for COVID. And
But if
then,
it's allergies, like allergies are rampant right now.
Yep.
You take your sick day, because it's migraines. Because not everything is COVID.
exactly, but we need to give,
Direction.
yes.
Well, I can give you a real-time experience on what I felt going through this. And the symptoms that I had was a throbbing headache that did not go away. Aches and pains all over my body, and a low grade temp of 100.2. 100.2. So, yeah, we were pretty fearful that this could possibly it. You know, the thing about it is you can also be asymptomatic and not have any of these and still have the disease. So, or the virus. But so I guess it's a wide range of symptoms that you may or may not have. And so, you know, I contacted my health provider, and they set a time, an appointment for me to come in. Now I came in, and the appointment, I met with a physician's assistant, and they determined whether or not they were going to test me at that time. So they were under the impression that they were going to determine whether or not they were going to test me. Now, if they felt that I did not have the appropriate symptoms, I'm guessing they would probably let me go home. But I did have a temp, and so they did test me. So when I got the results, another thought goes through your mind is this, you know, there's 20 to 30% chance of this being a false negative. And so that being said, I think you still remain to isolate yourself for a while. Now, I had the test on Thursday. The symptoms went away on Saturday. And so you still don't know what really is going on. I don't know. It's a very tricky situation, and it was very tricky for us. I mean, I'm not totally 100% sure that I believe the test. I'm going to have to, I guess, because everything goes on, but I'm still going to isolate, still going to quarantine for as long as I possibly can. And so it's different if you have a job. I understand that, but I still think this thing is not foolproof yet. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Sarah, that there's some issues with this testing?
Absolutely.
There are people that tested positive and got results, but they never even took the test.
That's what we talked about this morning. There's more and more of those stories popping up about the people signed up and they didn't show up and they still got test results of positive. And people who think they're positive are negative.
Is the 24 hours a public health recommendation, or is it just kind of?
Their recommendation is consult your healthcare provider and they'll give you a doctor's note to go back to work. Because she said that they're seeing a lot of allergies. But what she said in our meeting last week was this has kind of gone 3 waves so far. The first wave, the people were really sick. It was like that first round of COVID. There's a lot of people ending up with it. They had the high respiratory distress and they were ending up in the hospital. The second wave, a lot of positives, but a lot of asymptomatic positives. She said the third wave of people that they started seeing heavily week of July 10th was people with really nasty symptoms again. And she said the people that had it were sick. So she said the second round of people weren't sick. Third round of people, sick. And she said that their symptoms, most of the people that were sick were on the contact tracing list. And they were not appearing with symptoms until day 6 or 7 of the contact tracing 14 days self-isolate.
So how many people are in the hospital at St. Anthony's right now?
Can't say.
I mean, are they full? We have no ventilators?
No. There's like 70 people in our region on ventilators.
And that includes Toledo.
Region is Polk City.
Polk County.
So you feel 24
Fort
hours
Dodge.
is a good, I mean, do you think it needs to be 48? It doesn't seem like a very long time to be.
Everybody, it's, some are going 24 hours, you know, you just kind of woke up and didn't feel that good. But then wake up the next morning and you feel fine, but then some people will really, was that something? So do you let them work from home an additional day, 48? And if they feel fine and they're able to work from home, they're not missing out on anything, because we still have the flexibility of working from home during all of this craziness. But when Sarah spoke, so we had a meeting with all the superintendents last week, and then we had our coalition meeting. And she said that there's a handful of kids in our county that are positive and they're sick with the symptoms. It's not even the asymptomatic kids, you know, that we're talking about. Everyone in that category had the symptoms and hit them hard day 6 or 7. So A has to be addressed just with somebody not feeling well. B is an employee who was notified of a positive COVID-19 test is required to notify their department head within how much time? I feel like it should be immediately, but other counties are saying within 24 hours. That seems like a long time to me to be sitting on, I'm a county employee and I have a positive test result.
12 would get you, if you got the results at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Yeah.
call your supervisor, 12 hours would give you the chance to do that.
Yeah, and I know there's people that get their test results at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night because they come via email. So I just left it blank because other counties are putting within 24 hours. I just think that, why aren't you telling somebody right away?
It's a little
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, why do they think they need 24 hours?
It's just, I was pulling from what other counties are putting in their personnel handbook for guidance with employee. I don't know.
So they're saying that so that you call within 24 hours, you don't call us 36 hours later? Is that kind of what the deal is? You don't let it go for 2 days?
Yeah. But I feel like, I mean, the discussion in here is 12 hours. I feel like they need to notify someone fairly quickly that they have a positive test result.
I think 12 hours.
Even if it's a Friday night and that gives you a chance
Yeah.
to contact your supervisor. But
Yeah, because you're gonna, the supervisors are gonna be in on the contact tracing anyway. The state said everything opening up, schools, everything, is gonna do constant rolling blackouts. I mean, if somebody in the recorder's office gets it, the recorder's office might be out for 2 weeks. But then the treasurer's office was fine because they weren't in direct contact with you don't have to shut the whole courthouse down if somebody in the auditor's office gets it. You're gonna shut down by office, same guidance that they're telling the schools. It might just be one classroom, it might just be one grade, but they don't necessarily have to shut the whole school down.
Well, and I think most employees are gonna be telling their boss, department head, right away. I don't see it being an issue with them waiting.
they're your
Yeah.
workmates. You have to work with them
People,
all
and
the time.
people generally care about people they work with, and
Yeah.
they are sick.
And I'm sure, would you agree, there's 2 department heads in here? Would one of your staff text you throughout the weekend if they got tested on a Saturday, and you're okay with somebody texting you right away?
Absolutely.
And you'll probably send out a pass email to the rest of your employees that, yep, we've been close.
I'll speak with my department.
So you just gotta put a number in there.
I like 12.
Everybody likes 12, go with 12.
Okay.
So then number 3 is any employee who is identified during the contact tracing of another individual who has tested positive. So I mean, you're on that top contact tracing list, is required to follow the instructions given by the contact tracing staff to stay on self-quarantine for 14 days and will not be allowed back to work. If symptoms appear, the employee should get tested. Again, you can't say somebody has to get tested, but they should, because they were in on that. So the public health guidance is, if we have you contact trace it and if symptoms appear, you should get tested. If the test comes back negative, they're still not allowed to come back to work until the full 14 days. That is the problem public health said we are having nationwide, statewide, countywide. The people get the contact tracing call, they go and get a negative test and they say, oh, I'm good because it's negative. And that is not what public health is wanting people to do. They want them to sit out that 14 days.
So would they recommend starting from the contact trace day or the result?
Public health says your 14 days starts when I call you saying Stephanie was positive. So that's when you're, but if you don't have symptoms appear day 6 or 7, and then you get the positive, you have another 14 days to start. So some people could be out potentially 3+ weeks. Because then their own case is going to start from the day they find out they're positive.
Okay, but we will have someone from contact.
Yes.
So.
It's not necessarily the physician, they put their own.
Most likely.
Yeah.
But they could get.
They, yeah, might follow up, how you feeling?
So I guess from that point, as long as the contact tracing people can provide us with information that, yes, they were on the list and the days need to start.
They're
this
not
day.
gonna tell, they're only gonna tell the patient. They're not telling me.
But can they, I guess I'm looking for
How do you know
something that
it's
says,
You don't.
do I take the employee's word for it? Yep, I was called.
You have
Well,
to, because
that-
you're gonna give it to us.
Yeah, that's going to your E section. It's all leading up to, you just have to spell this out for everybody, exactly how it's gonna work. You can require a doctor's note if somebody, I mean, or like Stephanie said, you gotta trust that I got tested, I got a positive, I got a contact traced. Because if you have an employee who, I got contact traced 4 times, well, what's going on with this person, you know? But they only get the 10 days. After the 10 days, it's gonna start impeding on their own sick time, vacation time.
Carroll's not, I mean, if anybody wants it.
Yeah. So, but what's happening is people get the contact tracing call. They go and they get tested like the next day. That is not what public health is telling them to do. They are telling them, work from home, self-isolate, don't go out and about, be cautiously aware that you've been in contact with somebody positive. But what the people are doing is they're going to get tested within 2 or 3 days of that call. It comes back negative. Come back to work.
Even though they could end up with it because they tested
Yes.
actually too
3
early.
days later, they
Yes.
might start showing.
So public health wants as many businesses to follow that 14 days because that's how we're gonna stop the spread. Not by just letting people make up their own health choices and be like, well, I got tested, I'm negative, I'm going back to work.
Well, I think we should follow the guidelines as tight as we should, life side, well, that's what they're recommending, that's what we should be doing.
Our goal is to stop it, and 14 days is what it takes.
That's
I would
what it
agree.
should be. I agree.
Okay, so if the public health is what we need to do, that's the way we're going.
They can work from home. They can,
If they can.
yep,
That's, you're in the happy, you're lucky you're in a position where you can't work.
yep. So then, I mean, D and C, it just, the counties that are adopting these policies and adding this to their handbook. So county employees shall not be seen in public or violating the directive from public health. Failure to adhere to these policies can result in disciplinary action. You just have to say that, because I'm just telling you. All the stories coming out of Carroll County, Iowa, of all the people not heeding this advice. Oh, well, I saw them here, I saw them here. We know that they're on the contact tracing list. We know they're positive, and this person is here, you know. It just really sets a bad precedent when your county employee is out and about doing all of this stuff, and I guess you just have to put it in writing that something could happen by violating, you know, we gotta be more firm with the employees about this.
If it's an employee that received a phone call, called you guys, and they were supposed to be at home, and then the next thing you know, somebody sees on Facebook or Snapchat that
They're
out.
eating at Rancho Grande.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're camping and the kids are playing in the public playground area. Their family is supposed to be in isolation. And we as the county have them in isolation, but then they go out in public. And then other people complain about said county worker. I'm telling you, the last 2 weeks, it's story after story after story of all these people who are positive and not following these rules. So
If they have more than 2 events, the time's gonna come from sick, vacation, off time.
So then we put E, I talked to Rich about this a little bit, the auditor's office, along with the department head, will be in charge of keeping track of each employee's 10 additional days of COVID-related paid time off. If the employee is able to complete work for a certain number of days while at home, those days will not count towards the 10 COVID days. The employee and the department head will need to determine how many days were worked and not worked. And then if the employee has 2 separate or 3 separate events related to that, because this, I mean, we got 5 more months of this.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah, they extended those 10 days through the end of December of 2020, but they could certainly expand that into next year. So then yeah, exactly right. If you then have an employee who has a next event, the time off will come from
From sick leave, vacation.
Comp time.
Comp
They're probably the only 3.
And if you have an employee that has a 3rd event and a 4th event, you really probably need to be like,
Look at D. What you're doing this. I mean, eventually they're gonna run out of sick, vacation, comp time. And then you're looking at time off without pay, and does this fall under FMLA where they're really only getting 12 weeks a year?
Yeah.
You know, not that I mean, I
Let's
don't.
hope we don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see anybody taking advantage of it, but you could have somebody that's for 10 weeks, so they use 10 weeks of FMLA leave, and they only have 2 weeks left, and then they have a bunch of issues with this, they're off for 4 weeks. You don't have to hold their position anymore in FMLA if they've exhausted their 12 weeks. Or because it's COVID, does it not apply to FMLA? Question.
I don't know that answer either.
I think every scenario, when something like that happens, it will be on an individual basis.
This is a question that.
Well, there was some.
Right. This Is this something that we?
I think if the board is okay with these 5 items, we make an appendix to the handbook. You guys approve it. We can do that next Monday. It'll just be an extension, and we can have John look at these and just make sure that he's okay with the wording and everything. I feel comfortable having John okay it. It's just fine.
Okay, did I get in on that conversation? There are 5 things listed here. We pretty much inserted what we need to do here. Courtney comes with the recommendation that we put an appendix into our handbook. But we have John review these 5 to make sure that we're okay as close as he can come determine. And then we can maybe get it in next week and put it in our handbook.
I'm fine with that, I think, but once you get those numbers in there, insert them. Could you email a copy of those numbers inserted back to us?
Yeah, the one with, the only insert there was a 12 hours instead of 24. And then at the end on E was that if you have 2 separate COVID additional time offs will come from, and we discussed in here that it will come from your sick leave, your comp time, or vacation. Now,
okay,
not everybody gets comp time, not everybody, so there, it's a different player everywhere, but that's just the nature of the business that we have.
all right.
And she'll get a copy of those off to you as well as.
I emailed it to everybody.
Okay. She'll get it to John, to have him take a look at it, and see what he thinks, his opinion of it.
But what number do you guys want if an employee just doesn't feel well? And you can't make anybody go to the doctor, or they just don't feel well. They know they have allergies, they know they have migraines. Do you want them back after 24, 48?
Do they have a temp?
It's all relative in that, well, yeah. Fever free and without symptoms is always when you're sick with a temp.
I like 48.
Well, I think a temp is for me, I think a temp is probably the biggest indicator.
I think in the schools, they're leaning towards 3 days.
72.
I mean, the schools have not decided the language yet. They still have time, but I mean, daycares were the most extreme. They were like, your kid's sick, we'll see you in 10 days. That is extreme.
Like 48.
What I've seen is it's like 3 days from the last time you had a temperature, right? Is that right?
Yeah, fever free for 3 days.
Yeah.
At the school.
So if we want to match up with the school, we can do 7.
But if there's no temp, I got a runny nose, I got a sore throat, I got.
Well, I've done that once. I mean, I woke up and it was, I didn't have a temp, but I had everything else. Like, well, you don't have to have that.
Yeah.
So.
We could do 48 and then 48 hours of fever free, symptom free, because that would be 2 days. And again, we have the latitude of the working from home. And the goal is not to have everybody use up all their sick days and not, if I just am gonna throw caution to the wind and stay home today, I can do this and work at home, Like Dean, like you said, you felt terrible because if you would have been positive, not necessarily you getting it, but who did you possibly hinder?
Yeah, that was probably the expectations of the positive test was worrisome. I was concerned about that, but I was just as concerned at the possibility of, if I was positive, the guilt that went with who I may have infected was probably just as bad. And so, you know, I have no explanation today what I had, whether I had some type of a virus or what, but you know, I have no explanation for what I had. By all indications, I had early symptoms of COVID-19. So, I don't know. I think that I think 3 days after your symptoms diminish, that would be the recommendation to me, because that's basically almost what we're using here.
Well, let me interject this part. Let's say that I get up on Sunday, I feel like I'm getting a sinus cold, and on Monday it's a little bit better, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But on Monday, my only workmate in my office is on vacation. So where does that leave that department?
Either
Closed?
running with one person or closed.
Well, I mean, the person may have to come back in and maybe not feeling well, and it may not have been 48 or 72 hours, but the other person's already gone on vacation.
Say you either run with what staff available or your office.
I mean, these scenarios could go on forever.
Yes, we could talk about this till 6 months down the road of what
Don't you
it
think
is.
the recommendation would be, if you're just not quite sure, you might be sick, better stay home, and even if that office has to run one man
Or,
that day,
It is.
or not at all.
or not at all.
Because you either get sicker or you get better. It
So-
either, in the second day, you either wake up, oh my God, it's worse, or, oh,
Those are the things that we could run into. We might have an office closed for a day or two.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what my comment is. I mean, there's nothing to say that everybody in the auditor's office could come down with COVID-19.
Oh,
Then you're out for 14 days or longer. You know, I mean,
Sign.
I think the public would rather come to a closed office and then go to an open office and catch COVID-19.
I think you're right, Neil. Okay,
and that we're just being cautious because we don't want the whole courthouse out. We don't want
we have to guard against it.
to put up an announcement on this day.
So Dalton, you're gonna have to make sure.
So, are you going with 48?
Already taken
Okay.
For letter A, are you going with 48? You're going with 72?
I'm okay with 48, 72 matches.
What's it, is that in
The
B?
schools have not decided
Okay,
yet.
Is that in B?
All right.
I think I'd like to have 48.
And then they just have the option of working from home. Yep.
Okay, you want to make sure the employees feeling healthy when they come. All right. Any more questions? Any more comments? Sarah, are you okay with what we got? We'll get a copy of that off to John, would you please, Courtney? I will see him Wednesday anyway on another subject. I will bounce him about it.
I could send you the word one, Courtney, so you don't have to retype it up.
Thank you.
No, same old, just lots of decisions that we'll see, the school
If this will change again.
and the CDC, they're looking for a matrix as to at what point, because let's say it was the treasurer and the recorder and the auditor, let's just say that 3. So I would think that the courthouse, kind of the hybrid thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could close or lock down to if we have 2 of the 4 offices.
We look like we have a race going through the employees with this free.
Because I think that the Department of Public Health is trying, like
Something
with
we
the
can do.
influenza, they say 10%. So it was, are they gonna be at the 5% or the 10%? If that's, if your employees out, they're just telling you to then do something. And that's how the Pellas will be, that's the same guidance, your front pockets, all of those.
Daycare is the same way, and their time is on.
Yeah, so. We're just waiting for they said Monday, so we'll see if the new guidance, it was supposed to be out last week, didn't come out, so.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go
Thank
back-
you.
thank you, Sarah. Go back to committee reports.
I can do mine. Last week I had Wesco. Everything's running really well there. They're very, very happy with their employees and everything and taking the process. They have one more payment of PPP coming out. They did finalize their union rates. They're gonna get 80 cents per hour. And then also a bonus. We did meet in person, so that's good. We met within the larger conference room so we could listen. Touched on that they met with Rolling Hills to discuss, and they were approved to do an expansion of their Stepping Stones facility, which is cool. Then on Tuesday, I met with Zach. We went up and looked at a drainage issue that ended up being in drainage district 23. So I know Zach had reached out to Dick Bordermont and he was gonna contact the guy. And then we went and drove the Willie Blacktop to kind of watch the process. It looked like it's going really well. The resurfacing will happen next year. And I did ask Zach if we're gonna close roads or if we're gonna leave it to one lane. It's such a large road, heavily trafficked, and they go to one lane. And then I think that was it. This week I have a daycare meeting here in a half hour. And then the jail meeting on Thursday, potentially listen to the watershed on Friday, and is it the emergency coalition this week? Friday?
I have it for this Friday.
Okay, that's it.
I can go next. Last week, had the Coalition of Human Services, and there was no program to speak of. We each talked about what was going on in our areas, and I explained the courthouse opening today, except for driver's license of the treasurer's office, which is by appointment. Talked a little bit about Rolling Hills and that we were, as of July 1st, becoming the resource referral place for children's mental health. Chad Jensen explained how they are taking over the county relief program. Also worked with Gene Myers, of course, with the Veterans Affairs. We visited about that. I did take notice that Courtney Earlbeck had sent out, along with everybody's paycheck, the Carroll County Employee Earnings and Benefits statement. I think this is good. I think all employees know that the employer of the county does contribute to their benefits. I think quantifying this amount has quite an impact. This week, today I have the radio and newspaper. Wednesday, Rolling Hills has their monthly meeting. Thursday, Shive Hadry is giving a jail update. And I plan on attending all of that by Zoom. Any questions? Okay, that concludes my report then.
Thanks, Neil.
I can go next. On Monday night, had the Conservation Board meeting at the Ed Center. Just one of the things, they covered the updated everybody on the COVID operations, which had not changed since the last time. Restroom discussion was the north outside restroom that has been closed for 2 years now. It was determined that they would probably remove it. The staff is building a restroom down at Riverside Park. Let's see, East Side Shelter House update. They applied for all the grants. If you've been out there, you can see that they did the concrete work as far as the footings and the wall structures. So we'll probably be going, with the weather staying the way it is, they can keep moving along pretty well on it. I think they were thinking that it may be done in April, but it could be moved up to probably the mid, right after the first of the year. Fiber optic service is going in down at Great Western Park. The services were actually offered for a nominal fee, so they will be running fiber optic out to the park there. Summer projects, they're going to do some well work on at Dixon Timber. I guess everything, they want to move everything up out of the well itself and have surface. They're having some problems with it, so they're going to redo it. And that's, the staff is going to do as much of that as they possibly can. There's going to be a lot of tree trimming through the summer, throughout the parks. A lot of ash board damage, so a lot of the ash trees will be coming down. There was a bid review on 3 mowers and 1 pickup. The mowers were actually purchased, and they got the lowest bid from New Way Ford on a truck replacement of $30,681 on an F1 four-door pickup. There's been a lot of interest in canoeing and kayaking on the river, I think, because of the COVID-19 situation. And so they're going to be offering kayaks and canoes on the North Raccoon River. Let's see, my next was, I worked quite a bit on the North Raccoon River project. Talked to all the supervisors briefly with Neil. I've been sidetracked a little bit with my health issue, but we're back on track now. And so this week I have the big project I'll be working on will be the North Raccoon River Watershed Management Coalition vote on Friday. That's my week.
Thanks, Dean. Wednesday, I went to Jefferson to visit prisoner housing. Very impressed with them. They're doing, it's going to be a good project. One is completed and for sale. The other one is there and being prepped for sale. The air conditioning and being mounted, and flooring is being placed, and garage is being built. Thursday, I had a waste agency meeting. The highlights there were we had a long discussion with the BODs that comes out of our leachate system that's currently going to the city of Carroll, and it is taxing their BOD limits. We are now looking at maybe doing a collection system on site to help alleviate that, and we'll come up with a daily total, and we won't dump more than what the daily amount that we work with. And this retention pond that we have for that, we're currently going out to RFPs to get some pricing on it. But it sure appears that we're headed that way, because preliminary budgets look very favorable. The other thing was Friday, we made a bid on parts of Cass County to also bring their waste to the agency. I believe we were low bid, but I do not know if the contract was signed. Then on this, that was it for last week. This week, upcoming week is, I'm going to be doing a meeting with John on Wednesday on a couple items. Then on Thursday, we have the Cheyenne Hattery meeting. And then on Friday, I also have a coalition meeting on the CO, the WOIA, the Workforce Board. We're going to try to set up, the next meeting I think will be in person. We're going to finish up the bylaws at that time. We're really getting really close. I believe we have a fiscal agent hired. We have an administrator hired. And I think this will be the first time that most of us get a chance to meet the administrator this Friday. So we're just starting to get the ball rolling there, and it looks like it's going very well. I don't see any big issues. Dean, are you going to, by chance, talk to Jason this week? I'm going to call, I'll just call him. I would like for him, if they have a mower, that they can mow the grass at the new tower that we purchased up by Lanesboro. If he at least knock the grass down so we can apply some chemicals to it to get the parking lot. The parking lot's about waist deep right now, so we need something to get it down so we can spray it.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and contact him to coordinate that?
Okay.
You know, you're probably more in on that than I am.
Okay. It's not a big hurry for it, but I will.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be okay when they're moving the mower around, just to slip up there and do that.
Okay, very good.
Rich, I would like to add one thing I forgot to on my report, and I told you the other day, but with my conversations this last week with Chad Jensen, it appears this our community relief or general assistance program and new opportunities is going to work out well. And I just wanted the rest of the board to be aware of this. They had 8 contacts in regard to rental relief, and all 8 of them, the county did not participate in the fact that with them being involved with this, they funneled them off through a state program that paid those back rents. So I think it's going to be a good marriage, and I think that's a good report for us. So just wanted to be aware of that.
Thanks, Gene.
Yeah, that is good news, Gene.
Yeah.
Courtney, next week we have the resolutions for the wastewater. Anything else?
You'll have the handbook approval thing.
Okay.
Building.
And a building. Okay.
All right, well, if you guys don't have anything else, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody have a safe week.
Have a safe week, everyone.